Let's get back to the PlayStation, as if I haven't reviewed enough PlayStation and PS2 games so far. I like those consoles, and they're easy for me to throw a game in and start recording. This time I'm going with Test Drive 4 for the PlayStation. Oh my god, not another arcade racer. The other arcade racing games that I've reviewed so far at least had one defining characteristic about them that set them apart, but this one doesn't really have much going for it. I don't really blame the developers though. Racing simulation games weren't really a thing since the technology wasn't up to snuff for realistic racing, and this was a whole year before the original Gran Turismo came out, and that was the first true console simulation racing game. The other arcade racers I've reviewed have been arcadey in their handling and in their atmosphere, but this game truly brings the real arcade driving experience to the PlayStation, but in a bad way. These races have timers that you have to go through checkpoints to replenish it. It works exactly like it would in the arcade, but you're not earning tickets and you're not racing in the little racing seat booth thing where you have the pedals and the steering wheel. It just feels lazy, unapologetically hard, and unrewarding to play at home. For starters, the car selection from the beginning is kinda confusing. I mean, I love muscle cars, but there's a Jaguar XJ220, which is one of the fastest supercars produced by Jaguar, and it's going up against Chevelles and Camaros. I don't really see how this can be fair. It's not even a trade-off of top speed or acceleration. The Jaguar is the fastest accelerating, the fastest top speed, and it's only marginally worse in handling, so I don't really know why you'd pick the other cars. Even so, the game's still hard even when driving the Jaguar. Well, let's try some of these races. They're usually a straight shot down the track, but every turn I have to make, the car just feels super stiff. Like I hit the brakes really hard, but I can't make the turn without hitting the wall. Like what the heck, why is it so stiff? Again, I'm hitting the brakes like as hard as I can to slow down and actually make the turn, and I just hit the wall. You basically just gotta ride the walls if you need to go around a corner. Get as close as you can to that outside of that corner, and just ride that wall all the way through. And the traffic. Ugh. I hate hitting traffic and it makes your car tumble over and over. I just don't really see the point other than to aggravate the player. And it wouldn't even be that bad if I could avoid the traffic, but the steering's so stiff that I can't do it that often. It also helps having a respectable draw distance in the game, and I try not to fault games for having hardware limitations, but it's just so hard to see oncoming cars. Then there's intersections where cars are coming from the sides and you just can't avoid them sometimes. Speaking of hardware limitations, I rarely complain about graphics, but these cars just look so butchered. I mean, I even had to look up when Gran Turismo was released because I was thinking this game had to be released so much before then. But no, they were released within the same 12-month period, and Gran Turismo has more cars, more tracks, better graphics, more to do. Basically, everything's better in that game. You can also get pulled over by cops, and it isn't really a problem with the Jaguar since you can just outrun them. But with the slower cars like the TVR, which have better handling but aren't as fast, you can't pull away from the cops. So what's the point of taking anything but the Jaguar? I really don't know how else to win these races other than fly through the course in one absolutely perfect run. The highest I can get is 3rd or 4th, but other than that I usually just finish last, and that's with the Jaguar. I don't really have much more to say at this point. I mean, I think it's just shallow, it's boring, and there's other racing games for the PlayStation that are more polished and have more to offer. And I've had this game since I was a kid, and I never really played it for more than a race or two, and looking back on it now, I completely understand why. Man, I actually had to do some work on my top and bottom screen here, and sadly this is probably the most boring game I've played. I mean, IHRA and Bigfoot I think are worse, but they're worse in an entertaining way. This just seems like a bare bones racer. Whew, man, this was a tough one to write. Definitely took a little bit longer to write this one. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. 29 should be coming soon. That's all I got. See you next time.